Hello, this is Kathy with Duality Unfolding. So, I have a reading for you that is about your soul's desires. We're going to cover what it is that your soul desires in this lifetime, what it desires right now, what it desires for you, what it desires for your connections, both romantic and non romantic, and then what it desires for your fulfillment and happiness. So, as you can see, I have 4 groups for you to choose from. So, I've also rolled the astro dice for each group. So let's see what let's see what comes up. The cards that I pulled are just random cards from the deck, and then each deck that you see is what will be used for that group. So group number 1, we will be using the Egyptian Art Nouveau deck for you, and the astro dice that came up were Pisces and the second house. And so the card that's come up is Ace of Wands. And then group number 2, I pulled cards for you from the Transient Light Tarot, and the astro dice that came up for you are Sagittarius and the third house. And the card that's come up is the 10 of Coins. Group number 3, I pulled cards for you from the Instarot, and the astro dice that came up were the 7th house and the sun. And your tarot card is the 5 of Pentacles. And group number 4, I pulled tarot cards for you from the Apparition Spirit Speak Tarot deck. The astro dice that came up were that's not Pisces, Scorpio and Neptune. And then the tarot card that I pulled is the 9 of Cups. So, take all the time that you need to choose. I hope that the options, whether it's the artwork, let me see if I can fit these in here. The artwork for the decks, as well as the tarot cards, are helpful, as well as the astro dice. Let me see if I can get, I'm gonna try to get everything in here so you can see it. Okay, I think I did okay. Okay, so again, this reading is just asking questions about what your soul desires. So thank you so much for choosing this video, and I will see you in the readings. Hello, group number 1. So if you chose the astro dice with the Pisces symbol and the second house, as well as the Ace of Wands, this is your reading. So as I said, we are going to go over what your soul's desires are for this lifetime, for right now, for you / your lessons in this lifetime, for your connections, romantic and non-romantic, and then your fulfillment and happiness. So I pulled a tarot card and a different oracle card for each kind of question. So we will go ahead and just jump on in. So let's see what your soul's desire is for this lifetime. Okay. So we have the Justice card with the 2 scales and the card for balance. I'm not laughing about like the desire. I'm laughing about like the perfection of this card that represents balance and justice, and this card. So this balance message is, I bring a state of perfect harmony into my world, and I do so without judgment, which is very interesting to have it come up with the Justice card. Lady Justice is very often associated with the justice system, which is the judicial system of, at least the American government, which is about judgment. So, I thought you can't make this stuff up, right? So the Justice card is also about, again, like seeking harmony. The Justice card can represent Libra. So you might have some significant Libra placements. If you're familiar with your natal chart, you might want to look and see like which house Libra is in. Again, we had Pisces in second house. So you might be a Pisces. Your Pisces might be in your second house. The Pisces is the symbol, like the energy of Pisces is really about closing up a chapter, completing a cycle. and second house is about like work, money, like what we value, how we value ourselves, like our relationship with our own money, like our relationship with our values. But this Justice card is associated with the sign for Libra, and so we've got these two cards, or these two symbols here, that are the symbol for life. The Ankh, and then traditionally in the Justice card there is a heart and a feather, and so you can see that these two things are weighed evenly. That this Lady Justice is literally the scale that calibrates the weight of things, and the heart being here and the feather being here, like the message of this is that to create a sense of balance, we need to have a heart that's as light as a feather. And so when we think about the things that can weigh heavily, make us have a heavy heart, that can weigh heavily on our heart, a lot of times it's things that have to do with a feeling of guilt, right? And to go back to this justice judgment thing, if you believe in past lives, well, I was going to say if whether you believe in past lives or not, but then my brain started thinking about, like, why would someone watch this if they didn't believe in past lives? But you can believe that your soul has a purpose without believing that you need to be coming back. But this part of the message is for people that do believe in reincarnation. So you in this lifetime, your soul may be wanting to balance out some karma from previous lifetimes, right? That like one of the reasons that they weigh the heart and they want the heart to be as light as a feather is because people that deserve judgment have done things that create a heavy heart in them. And, and like I said, guilt can make us feel heavy in the heart. When we are found guilty of something, it's almost like these things are like, there's this kind of entanglement in them, right? That like, even when we look at the language of it, that the word guilt can have two different meanings, that you can feel guilty, you can feel bad about something that you did that might not be illegal in a court of law, and then you can be found guilty of breaking a law, in the court system. So it's like this, not even like a duality, it's what is the word? It's when two different things can be true, right? That like we can find ourselves guilty of something even if it's not illegal, immoral, unethical. Like even if the systems that we use to measure guilt don't find us guilty, we can find ourselves guilty. And so it feels like energetically, it feels like there's like this push and pull, right? That it almost feels like maybe there were things that you've done, like in a past life or even in this life, that you didn't get in trouble for, you didn't get caught for, no one knew about them, but you hold this guilt over yourself. And in the same token, there could be things that you have done that you feel so bad about that you believe that you should be punished for them. And I feel like for those of you that believe in past lives, like I said, there might be some past life stuff, some karmic stuff that you're trying to balance out in this lifetime by making sure that you keep a heart that's as light as a feather, that you are not doing things that cause you to hold guilt in your heart. Or you could be working through the self-imposed prison that like guilt creates in us. Because I think that, when we do things wrong, like when we have hurt somebody, like even if it's an accident, we can hold ourselves like to an unrealistic standard where maybe like you accidentally hurt someone, like you say something and it hurts their feelings and you find out that it hurt them and you go back and you apologize, and you're like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to say it like that. I was having a really bad day. Like what I meant was this, but I'm so sorry that I couldn't say it that way. And I'm so sorry that my words hurt your feelings. And I'm so sorry I was careless, that I allowed my emotions to take over, the words that I chose to use. And I hope that you can forgive me. And this person might say, you know what? I was having a bad day too. And, I think because I was having a bad day, I thought about it a lot and I kind of hurt my own feelings. And of course, I forgive you. I know that you would never like say things to hurt me on purpose, that this wasn't in character for you. And so they forgive you and, you go back to normal, except you are holding yourself in guilt that like, yes, they forgave you, but you don't forgive you. So now it's hard for you to communicate with them because you're overthinking the things that you might say wrong or the things that you did say wrong. And like you're continuing to punish yourself for doing something wrong to someone else who has already forgiven you. And I don't feel like that's for everybody, but I feel like that came up because it's for someone. So, your soul's desire for this lifetime is to create a sense of balance, especially in the way that, like, that you exist in the world, the way that you connect with the world, the way that you connect with people, even the way that you connect with, like, the environment and, like, the community and the earth. And this balance feels like something that's very intentional. That, like the sign of Libra, because it's represented by the scales, sometimes Libras can seem to be indecisive, but really what's happening in the background is they're weighing and reweighing when they're deciding things, especially things that are very important to them, things that, hold a lot of value to them, especially things that are very important to others. Libra rules the 7th house. It is the sign, it's the only sign in the zodiac that's focused on the other before the self. And so that is where this kind of energetic reweighing comes in. And so I say that because I think one of the things that people don't see about Libras is that there's a lot of intentionality around how they make decisions. And because like we aren't part of someone else's thought process, like we don't know that, like they're weighing things as far as like, I don't ever want to hurt this person again. And like, I need to work on my communication, but I need to tell him this and I'm really in a hurry. But like, how do I figure out how to say this without hurting them? And it's like this kind of back and forth, up and down, because the intention is so strong, because, the intention is to maintain or create harmony, to, maintain or create a sense of balance and peace. So I get the strong feeling about intention, as far as your soul having a desire for there to be an intention around the things that you do, the things you say, like the way that you operate in this life. Okay, so now let's look at what your soul's desire is for right now. And this is kind of, this could be something currently that you're going through. This could just be like the current season that we're in. I feel like it's going to make sense when we look at the card. So we have the 5 of Swords and we have what do you need to release? Waning Moon. Okay, so 5 of Swords is, it is a card about not really playing fair. So we've got this person and they have they have all 5 of the swords. So they're holding 2, wearing 1, 2 are on the ground. And they've acquired these swords from these 2 people. And you can see there's kind of a pride here, a little bit of cockiness with like, kind of this look on on their face. These 2 people that have walked away, like this person has their head down. This person's not even facing the person in the card. And so it's a feeling of very much like my way or the highway, burning bridges to get your way. And so your soul's desire for right now is to release this kind of energy. So if it's energy that you inhabit, like let's say that you're someone that's very, very like competitive, that, like you have to win at all costs and it doesn't matter if you hurt people, you're being questioned, like, what do you need to release, like, to create that balance, right? It could be that there's a lot of drama in your life because there are people in your life that create drama. Like this might be you, right? Or this might be you, or you might be somebody else kind of out here watching this happen. And this question is, what do you need to release, right? Do you need to release this drama? Do you need to release being sad about people like this? Do you need to release even engaging with people, like, so that you don't have to walk away again? Yeah, so the burning bridges thing is coming up. In my mind, it's kind of coming up a little bit loud. And so I don't know if that's something that you need to release, if it's like a fear of burning bridges, or if it's any behavior that, like any actions, behaviors, choices that cause bridges to be burnt. Yeah. And then sorry, I'm like, I feel like sometimes like the things that come through, it's not necessarily jumbled. Like sometimes it's like I can't hear it very well. Like the volume isn't high enough, so I just kind of get quiet to hear it, and then sometimes it disappears. This Ace of Wands that's here it feels like this is the invitation to take some new action. And so the thing that came up for you around this card, like, I feel like that is the action that you're being encouraged to take, right? So if you saw this card and you realize that this is you, and that like you really are done dealing with people like this, like the action you need to take is maybe to walk away from this person, this connection, right? If that burning bridges message really resonated for you, maybe the thing that you need to release is the fear that you're going to burn bridges by doing something different than people expect, and so you're being encouraged to take action on that. Yeah. So next we're going to look at what your soul desires for you. Okay. And so we've got this. Sorry. We've got this King of Pentacles. I don't think I've ever seen this card before. Like, it just looks really, like the imagery on this pentacle, it looks like a person, but it looks like a plant. This King of Pentacles, to me, he almost looks like a little bit like a shaman or a medicine man, or like the symbol for the king up here, it looks very different than like what he has on. Let's see what's in this card. Okay. So we got the Hermit, but it came up in reverse. You might be a reserved person. And so we're going to read the shadow attributes, and we're going to read it as what your soul wants for you to release. If this had come up in the upright, I would read it as what your soul wants you to move towards. So kind of taking sort of an astrological take on it, of this being the north node, what we should move towards, and this being the south node, what we should release. And so the shadow attributes are: withdraws from society out of fear or negative judgments of others, refusing to help those in need. Okay, so what your soul wants for you in this lifetime is for, and this feels like it has to do with the heart feather balance thing. You're going to, in this lifetime, your soul wants you to, it's not that it does want you to, but your soul is blessing you with a lot of financial abundance and a lot of financial wisdom, a lot of financial understanding. And what your soul wants for you to do is to release that tendency, which I feel like is maybe rooted in like some scarcity. It's rooted in like a fear of loss, a fear of not having enough, that probably came from a past life. Your soul wants for you to use your abundance, whether that's abundance of money, abundance of wisdom, abundance of time, to help those that don't have those things, to help those that are in need. And so, you're being asked to release the judgments that you have of other people. Again, this justice, judgment, I love this. When it's, you know what I mean? Like when they all go together and they're from different decks. And so I'm not saying that if you are in a really great abundant financial state. Like, I'm not telling you that you have to give away all your money, right? That's not that's not the message. I would ask you to think about how it makes you feel to donate to a cause that is important to you, like on a regular basis, right? And that can be like looking at donating $10. That could be looking at donating to, I don't know, maybe like you work someplace where like every August they do like a backpack fundraiser for, you know what I mean, for kids in public schools, and like you've never done it but you always think about it, like maybe this is the year that you're, you know, that you decide like, yes, I'm gonna do it. Or maybe you reach out to that person, you're like, hey, can I help you do this? Like, I would really, I mean, you've done it every year and I'm in a place that I can help, and so I'd really like to help you organize it. You know, I'd like to collect backpacks from this part of my community. Because like I said, like the Pentacles is time, money, and energy. And so if you are someone that, let's say you are not abundant in money, let's say that you are abundant in wisdom and you're abundant in time, that maybe you're a full-time student, maybe you work a part-time job, right? But you have an abundance of time. Like, is there an organization that you can volunteer with? To help them, you know. And with this Hermit card coming up, and the withdraw from society, like this feels like volunteering your time in person, you know, which I don't know if that feels scary for you. I don't know if that feels uncomfortable for you. Maybe you have some wisdom, right, that you can donate. Maybe you don't necessarily have money or time. Maybe let's say that you're a single parent, you work full time, but you are just really great at math, right? And I feel like a lot of people struggle with math. So maybe you decide that, you know, while you're helping your child with math, your son with math, that maybe you talk to one of the teachers and say, hey, like on this day, like I usually get off early, and so I would love to come to the school and just stay an hour after school with the kids and help them with their math homework, because I'm going to be at home helping my son anyway. So, you know, I would like to do that. And so it feels like there is some area that you have abundance in your life and your soul really wants for you to go out into the world in whatever form that is, that only makes you a little uncomfortable. Because I feel like having this Hermit come up in the shadow attribute, being that it's like something you're releasing, I think your natural tendency is to be more introverted, and to be more alone, and really to be more hermited. And so I feel like the pot calling the kettle black, because I have been this way really since the pandemic. Like, I kind of feel like I never really came out of, no, I did. And then I think when I retired from the military last year, like I very much became a hermit. And so this is probably for me too. At least this part, you know, that I have an abundance of time, you know, so I need to go volunteer someplace. So if you pick this pile and you feel like there's something that you know that you're supposed to be doing, you know, with your abundance of time, energy, or money, and Spirit has been speaking to you to do it, and you are like me and you found every excuse, or maybe you're just kind of scared. I'm not necessarily scared of people. I'm always scared that people won't like me, which is a really vulnerable, hard thing to share. So if you have that fear, I will tell you that it's not true about you. It's just this mean inner critic. But if you need an accountability buddy, then you just comment, you let me know, because I probably need one too. I don't have anyone to like kind of push me outside my box to be uncomfortable. So if you're interested in being in this together, you let me know. I'm right there. But yeah, your soul has brought a lot of abundance to you in some form, and it's because it needs you to release that kind of withdrawal or fear of like negative judgment from other people, and to not allow that to be a reason why you don't want to help people. This talks about refusing to help those in need, and I don't feel like there's a refusal. I feel like there's kind of a fear, right? And so with money, I get it. The economy things are crazy. Everything is more and more expensive. Not everybody is able to donate to some cause, right? And so I think that's the great thing about Pentacles. It's time, energy, and money, that as well as wisdom. Like there's sometimes that we just know things, or maybe we're on the way somewhere and we see somebody has a flat tire, and it's like, well, I don't have anything to do after this. I can pull over and offer to help. So even just these really small things, but that is your soul's desire for you. So next, let's look at your soul's desire for connections. And I have one card for romantic connections and one for non-romantic. So if you are not interested in romantic connections, we can see what comes up here. And I'm sure that, we can figure out how it applies to non-romantic. But the tarot card that came up is the Chariot. Oh, I don't know if I need to cover these. Let me see. I'm going to put your... I'm gonna put your astro dice over these. This is ridiculous. Oh, okay, it's perfect. Sorry. I was talking to a friend earlier and I told her that my New Year's resolution for this year is just nonsense. To create it, to share it, to just do nonsense. So this is thank you for supporting me in practicing my New Year's resolution. Okay. So the Chariot, focus, self-focus. Okay. So the Chariot card represents to me, because I feel like this is kind of a cheeky way to look at the Chariot card. The Chariot card, I feel like, is the Uber that the universe sends us, right? Or the Lyft that the universe sends us, where it's like the ride is already paid for. We just need to be at the place that we are and get in, when the universe sends this Uber. And so the Chariot is a message about being taken somewhere. Not like kidnapped. Nobody's going to kidnap you. It's a change of direction, right? It's the universe kind of, it's almost more than synchronicity, where let's say you're at work and you're talking to somebody and they say like, hey, did you hear that like they stood up this new department and they're looking for people within the company to work there, and they're looking for people that can do this, this, and this. And I thought of you because you know how to do all those things really well. And so I didn't know if you heard yet, but like the applications close out tomorrow. So you should apply because it's a raise. And you're like, what the heck? And so like you apply, and it turns out that all the people that you really love working with, they applied too, and you guys all got these jobs and you all get to work together, and it's amazing. And it's like, that's the Chariot, where it's like, hey, get in, loser, we're getting a promotion. Like, get in, loser, we're gonna go have the best like work experience ever. Come on, it's gonna be great. Except for the universe doesn't think you are a loser, and neither do I. But again, nonsense. So yeah, this is very much about kind of divine timing, divine transportation, that the universe is paving a way for something to happen, and it's really kind of shifting you, moving you, carrying you to that new thing. So let's look at the connections. Like the universe is saying that the desire is this. I can't talk. I'm so excited, and like I don't know why my energy got to be like so kind of chaotic and silly. I don't think it's from the boobies and the dice. So it could be. But your soul's desire for you in connections is that your soul wants to take you to these connections. So it feels like these things are gonna they're definitely just gonna come up in a really easy way. You know, it's not, you're not gonna have to like run and catch a train because you're running late. Like it's gonna be almost like bumping into someone, right? Like when like if you're walking into like the sliding doors at like a grocery store or something, it's like maybe you're not paying attention, you almost run into this person and like you both kind of laugh. Like it feels very much like this kind of synchronistic, like same place, same time, that you were taken to the right place at the right time. You might meet someone when you're going to a place that you don't normally go to. And so again, we're going to look at romantic and non-romantic. So let's look at this first card of romance. Oh, the Grim Reaper. Okay, sorry. So, that probably wasn't the best reaction, huh? The relationship is over. No second chances. Grow and transform your life. Okay. So if you have been holding on to a past romantic relationship, I feel attacked. This is a message to let go and to move on. That connection, it's not what is for your best, highest good. It's not what your soul wants for you. And so if that hits kind of hard, like I want to say I'm sorry, but also that like when we have a lot of hope for something to like work out or have a second chance, like I think the thing that we, you know, obviously when we want to give ourselves like time to grieve, if it's needed, you know, like you might have done all your grieving already and this is just like a really small hope. But also to know, to trust and believe that something even better is coming along. Like even if you believe that like this was the one, this was it, like something better is coming. We just have to we just have to process and release and almost kind of clear out those feelings, those emotions, so that there's a clean space for this next person to come in. And so I really just love the message of grow and transform your life. If you are in a relationship that is on again, off again, this card, it kind of feels like, you know, for some of you, this might be a confirmation that like it's not going to progress any more than always being on again, off again, you know, and kind of looking at if that's what you want. I don't feel like that's what you want. And I get it that it's not the funnest, you know, most positive message to hear. So let's look at your non-romantic relationships. A new opportunity. Okay. Insights gained from a new job, a new experience, a new job, or a new partner. This feels like you're being encouraged to release a current or old romantic relationship so that something new can come in. And it feels like this person that comes in, it could be just like new friendships that come in, you know, new experiences, new jobs. I feel like there is a very high potential for someone that you meet as a friend to become a partner. And that might be why there is that feeling of needing to kind of clean out the energy, to process the energy, let go of like the emotions that are still attached to that last person or the current person, so that there's a clean space for someone new to come in. Because it almost feels like until you're able to release the relationship, until you're able to grow and transform, this new opportunity won't come. So that's been the connection part. Let me see. I can kind of move these over because I've got two more cards. So let me put these like this. Are these ladies covered? Okay, good. That's important. We're gonna keep these gals decent for YouTube standards. Okay, so this last card is your soul's desire for your fulfillment and happiness. Okay. 8 of Cups. This card is about obviously walking away, leaving something behind, because it is, it's done. It's empty. it's not fulfilling. And so we have all these cups, but you can see that they're all empty. There's nothing in them. It could be that like whatever there was to gain, learn, receive from this situation, it's run its course and it's time to walk away. I feel like part of you knows that you need to walk away. I think it just might be hard, and that might be connected to this, like this on again, off again relationship, or even if you were holding on to someone, that Eight of Cups encouraging you to walk away because there's new opportunities, right? Like when we look at this Eight of Cups, like we can't really see where they're walking, like where they're going is kind of off screen. And so it's walking into like this new place, these new opportunities, having these new experiences. It's someplace that you haven't been before. It's someplace you haven't seen before. And I think that's why we're not able to see it. It's something that's all new, and that very much lines up with this Ace of Wands. This card is new beginnings. Like the Ace of Wands is the opportunity from the universe, like this offering of like, here, I'm giving you this new opportunity for you to take advantage of. And we see that like very much supported by this Chariot, by this new opportunity, even with like this person holding this staff, this wand, they have taken the wand that has been handed to them. They're taking it and they're going somewhere else. And then we have, I think it's the Creative's Compass card. So the message is marination. The buildup is hard sometimes. Find something to do, but don't cut yourself off completely. Okay. And then we have sadness. Okay. So, the processing that we talked about, like that's what the sadness feels connected to. It feels like there's something that you need to work through for you to get to your fulfillment and happiness. Like you're going to have to process some of these hard emotions, and it could be around, this no second chances. It could be around some of that like guilt that we talked about, that karmic guilt from before, even guilt that you've accrued in this lifetime from things that have happened. It could be some sadness from this drama. I don't know if this drama is connected to this prior or like on again, off again connection. But it feels like your soul wants you to give yourself some time, and that could be like scheduling it in, because if like this sadness card, like it's kind of this dark blue color. It's a little bit heavy. We have, we've got this little sky with little tears, and the marination, like it feels like it could be beneficial for you to schedule in that time, right? To say, okay, on Saturday I don't have any plans, or on Sunday I don't have any plans. I'm going to give myself an hour, or I'm going to give myself 15 minutes, or I'm going to give myself an evening or afternoon to just marinate, to just sit in that sadness, and whatever wants to come up can come up. And then after that period of time, I'm going to go do X, Y, and Z, and so sometimes I think when we avoid those hard feelings, sometimes that avoidance comes from past experience with like sadness and depression. I struggle with depression, and I'm on medication for it. And whenever I go on and off medication as needed. So there's times that like I won't be on an antidepressant, and I start to get depressed and I'm like highly resistant to it, right? Where I'm like, no, I just need to like eat better. I need to exercise. Like I just need to go for a walk and that will change my brain chemistry because I'm going through a major life change that I have no control over. Like that it doesn't work for me. I'm not saying that like exercise and eating healthy don't work, but for me, it doesn't do enough to shift my brain chemistry when I'm already in a not great place and I'm resistant to the fact that I am where I am. So like if you're not a resistant person, you probably cannot relate to this. But I think that like my brain also becomes really fearful of when I get depressed because when I was a lot younger, like in my early 20s, like I would have like these really, really intense crying spells. Like I would cry for hours. It was bananas, you know? And like I didn't know I was depressed. I was just like, why am I so sad? Like, I don't know what's happening. You know, and it's hard to go out in the world when you're like that. Your eyes are all puffy and like everything makes you like cry and you know, nothing makes sense. And so if you struggle with being with those feelings of sadness because you're afraid that like you're going to fall into this dark hole and never come out again, what I would encourage you to do, granted, I'm not a mental health person like or a professional. I'm just a person that has dealt with depression for probably over 20 years. If you can schedule some time to be with your feelings, and like I said, it could be 15 minutes, it could be a whole afternoon. And as part of that planning and scheduling, schedule something that you enjoy right after that, right? So if you have never allowed yourself to kind of marinate in that sadness and you know that there's sadness that you need to process to really move on from this, to go towards that new opportunity, to release that guilt, to process whatever feelings you have around this. Maybe just saying I'm going to take 15 minutes and I'm going to write in my journal about how sad I am, or I'm going to sit in my car by myself and I'm going to talk to myself about whatever it is I'm feeling. Like everybody has a different process or thing that works for them or feels right for them. I'm going to do this for 15 minutes. I'm going to set a timer. And when the 15-minute timer is done, I'm going to drive and get myself a milkshake, or I'm going to drive and get myself a banana split, or I'm going to drive and get myself a coffee, or, you know, I'm going to take a nap, or whatever it is for you, right? Something that feels kind of like a reward, because being with those feelings, it's really hard. Like it's not easy. And that's why a lot of people don't do it. Like it's so much easier to spend most of your adult life pushing down those feelings and keeping that lid closed tight and doing everything you can to sit on top of the lid so that nothing comes out. But unfortunately, like we just keep stuffing things in, right? And so it's almost like if you overpack a suitcase, like, yeah, you can sit on it, you know, to get it zipped closed. But then when they chuck that thing onto the airplane and it all pops open and all your stuff goes everywhere, it's like, it didn't matter that you could close it. It didn't matter how strong you were to like just keep it all packed in. So I get it, you know, that like people don't, I get that it's hard. And so that is why I'm encouraging you to do your, like, to schedule, to plan your go-to comfort thing after you've done this processing, right? And to also be really gentle with yourself, because healing is hard. And that's what processing is. Like, that's what emotional processing is. Like, healing is taking the time to allow yourself to feel those really hard things and then applying love in the place of what hurts. Like almost like if you could take love and put it in a Band-Aid form and put it on top of that wound that you just exposed. Yeah, that, you know, like love heals, and it doesn't, that love doesn't have to come from other people. We can perform healing acts of love, you know, on ourselves, for ourselves. So when you're ready, do your 15 minutes of crying and then go get some ice cream or take a nap. If you have a stuffed animal, I highly suggest bringing your little stuffy with you when you do your 15 minutes of journaling. I think that it's always easier to do things when we have a friend. So I'm a big fan of stuffed animals as a form of comfort. But yeah, group number 1, this has been your Soul's Desire reading. So I hope that you enjoyed it. I want to say thank you so much for letting me read your cards. I know that there were some kind of tricky parts to this reading, so I appreciate you trusting me, to read these cards for you, because not every reading is sunshine and rainbows, but this one had boobs in it, so that's a plus, right? No, that's nonsense. That's nonsense. But I want to say thank you so much for being here. I want to say thank you for watching the reading, and I hope that it was and is helpful for you. And I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, group number 2. Oh, excuse me. So if you chose this 10 of coins and the Sagittarius third house Astro Dice, this is your reading. So, like I said in the intro, we are going to look at cards. I pulled a tarot card and an oracle card for all of these questions. So it is your soul's desire for this lifetime, for right now, for you, possibly a lesson that it wants you to experience in this lifetime, your connections, romantic and non-romantic, and then your fulfillment and happiness. So let's take a look at your soul's desires for this lifetime. Okay, so we have 7 of Cups and guilt. So we've got the 7 of Cups in reverse, 7 of Vessels. In the upright, we have all these cards that have random things in them. And this card can represent having lots of options, struggling to make a choice, there not being a bad choice. With this in reverse, it very much feels like almost like analysis paralysis, where like you've struggled to make decisions to the point that like you've chosen, I don't know why I can't come up with the words for this. Your go-to has been to revert to non-decision, right? So like non-action is an action, but it's almost like it's like this kind of peculiar sort of avoidance, except for you're not avoidant to the people. Like there's been things that have come up where like you've been offered it's sorry, I don't know why I'm like struggling to get this out. I don't know if this is like the energy of it. It feels like someone will ask you this or this. Okay, I get it now. In this world, sorry, let me finish my last thought. Someone will ask you like, do you want this or this? And you will say like, it doesn't matter. And so then they're like, which one do you want? And you're like, either one is fine. And so that's what feels like the non-decision, because you're not making a decision, but you are saying that like whatever is fine. And so it's not, I think that's why it felt like it wasn't necessarily avoidance, and it's not like it's not obstinance. But the phrase that's coming to my mind is that like nothing's real and everything's made up. And so let me explain. I'm looking at this like the guilt card, and it says, I release any beliefs that no longer assist in my soul's growth. And so it feels like your soul's desire for this lifetime is to disconnect from this separation belief that the majority of our world is based in, and to move towards a oneness belief. And so this can look like politics, right? Like, well, if you're either a Republican or a Democrat, and like you're saying like I'm not gonna choose one, right? That's like the non-decision. It's, like the original example is like either one is fine. Like you're shifting away from like being non-decisive to almost like opting out, but you're not opting out because you don't want to play the game, because you don't want to be involved in the drama. Like you are opting out because neither choice is a good choice, right? And it's not, it almost feels like you might have been really invested in, you might have been brought up, like a lot of people, that like, this is how things are, this is what we're supposed to do, this is the way we have to go, this is how it will always be. And something happened for you that caused you to really like divest from that. And that is you coming into alignment with like your soul's desire for this lifetime. So let's say that you were raised somewhere that is very conservative, very rural, religious, you know, and so a lot of the values you were raised with maybe are in line with like conservative Republicans, right? And so then as you left home, maybe you started to kind of look at like, you moved to like a democratic state that was more liberal, and you got to know people that lived a lifestyle that you were raised to see as like wrong or bad based on your religious beliefs or based on conservative values. But they're not bad people. Like, you really like these people. Like, they're wonderful people. They just make different choices than you. And your beliefs start to shift, you know? And so maybe you go back home and you have a conversation with your parents, and, you know, and they're hearing you talk about things, and they're like, well, if you believe that, you're not a Republican like this. You sound like you're a Democrat. That sounds like what you've chosen. And you're saying, I don't choose either. Like, I don't agree with either system. You know, I feel like people, like, there are universal rights that human beings should be entitled to, you know, and like, it feels like a lot of the labels that used to make sense to you don't make sense to you anymore. It almost feels like, in a way, it's like a dark night of the soul, because the things that you identified with before don't feel right to you anymore. And the opposite of those things that you used to identify with, they don't feel right either, but they also don't feel bad the way they used to. And so there's this moving away from like the separation mindset of like, you have to be this or that, like it's black or white, or Democrat or Republican, or like heterosexual or homosexual, like that. You are very much moving away from these choices that are all based in opposition to each other. And you're moving into this kind of oneness mentality, that like understanding that the things that we do collectively affect each other, right? And it's almost like you can see it with climate change, right? That like a lot of the countries that economically are much more poor are suffering from climate change, where the countries that are economically much more prosperous are actually the ones creating the problems that have led to climate change, but they haven't started experiencing it to the extent that the people in the lower economic countries have. And that understanding in one part has created a lot of guilt for you, but it's also kind of cracked you open. And so it almost feels like your life could feel like, because when we look at all of these vessels, something's coming out, but in the reverse, like when we look at it in the reverse, things are falling out of these vessels. And it might feel like your life, it almost feels like this is your life, that like something happened and your life got turned upside down, and like it's being shaken, right? Where these things are all kind of falling out of what, like, it's almost like it feels like your kind of life is in an earthquake in a way. Yeah, like it's been flipped upside down and just is being shaken, and all these things are falling loose. And if you were in this time right now, as unpleasant as it is, like that is confirmation that you are coming into alignment with what your soul wants for you. That the things that are not firmly rooted in who you are as a person anymore need to be kind of shaken so they can fall away. It makes me think of what do they do this with? I used to watch Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe a lot. I don't even know if they still make it anymore. But he was somewhere, I think it was like a maggot farm. This is so gross. And they just breed maggots, right? But they have all different sizes, and so they had a sifter, and it has different size holes in the mesh. And so essentially, like, what they would do is they put all these little maggots in the sifter and they'd shake it, and the little ones all fall through. And so they'd put, those on like a finer mesh, and they shake them, and it's like the bigger ones are left in the top, and then the smaller ones fall through, and that's how they would sort them. And so it feels like that is, and it's not funny because I'm like, having been through a dark night of the soul, I know this is not pleasant, but it feels like that's what you're going through, where it's like the universe is putting you in a sifter and it's shaking you, and it's like, let's see what comes loose. And then it's like, okay, let's do a little bit more refining, and it puts you in another sifter and it shakes it, and like more things shake loose. And like the purpose of it, not only so that like you can come into alignment, like, and also for your soul's growth, like the purpose of it is because it needs to happen gradually. And the really charged emotions, the really hard feelings that you're having around it is essentially to help you to not stay stuck in the guilt. Because if the universe was to allow you to do this yourself and to not put you through the sifting, you would get swallowed up. You'd spiral down into this guilt. Like, this is almost like a quicksand situation where it's like, okay, if I didn't sift you, you would quicksand and sink into your own guilt, and we would not be able to move. Like, there would be growth. There wouldn't be, like, you wouldn't complete in this lifetime what it is that like we agreed to come here and do. And so, drastic times call for sifting you like a maggot. It's just ridiculous. But it's like in the pain, there is a purpose in the pain, right? That like having all these things shaken loose that you weren't expecting makes it shocking to the point that you can't unsee it for the truth that it is. And it also prevents you from getting bogged down in the guilt of you having had these beliefs that were given to you as truths. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. That was a lot. This 10 of Coins card that came up for the choosing card. This card is a card of happily ever afters. And so like, I believe that all things happen for our highest best good, but I feel like this card is almost like this reminder in the reading that like, this is all for the happily ever after. Like, this is all leading to this happily ever after. So in the times that you feel like you're being grabbed by the ankles and shaken for your lunch money by the universe, this is for your highest good. And you're supported by your soul in this while you're also being bullied. If that helps. Sorry. It's like, it's funny, but it's not funny. Having been there, it's funny. And hopefully it feels funny to you, where maybe the analogy of like the sifting of the maggots, you might be like, yes, that is exactly what I feel like, and then maybe you're having a hard week one day and you're like, I feel like a maggot in a sifter. And then you can know that I am right there with you, because being human is weird. So, okay, let's look at what your soul's desire is for you right now in this current time, maybe in this current lessons, current chapter of your life. Okay, we have the Chariot in reverse. This is a very peculiar looking chariot. Chariot in reverse is a refusal to move forward. Maybe there's a little bit of mistrust. Maybe there's some fear. Maybe there's the desire not to move forward. Maybe, sometimes we just want to kind of stay in our bed or stay on our couch or not go out in the world. So let's see what your oracle card is. Your hard work is paying off. Okay, new moon in Capricorn. So the time frame for new moon in Capricorn is going to be, I want to say December. Might be November. So quite a few months from now. This Chariot card, typically the Chariot has a chariot in it. Like some kind of mode of transportation. But this one has what looks like maybe a pearl and this black and white imagery, which is a nod to the traditional the traditional chariot. But we have like this kind of crescent moon geometry, this mouth that might be like an oyster. So I wonder if there is something that you need to say that you're hesitant to say. I wonder if there's something that like, this could be, maybe you're in a weird relationship right now and you know that you need to end it, but you just aren't ready yet. Maybe there's a conversation you need to have. You might need to say something at work. Like, I feel like this can really apply to any part of your life, but I think that the appropriate scenario is going to come to mind for you around whatever this is. You know, that there's something that you need to take action on, which is going to require some form of communication, and you're hesitating or you're not ready. You might be creating a plan. You know, we don't always need to say things immediately when they come up. If you're, you know, if you have the intentions of like, maybe you want to move away from home, right? Or maybe you want to change your degree plan at school, or maybe you want to end a relationship, or like you want to change jobs. You know, any of those things, those are major life changes. Those take time and they require planning. Because this is a new moon, and like when we have a new moon, you can see there's just a tiny sliver of moon showing, because the new moon is pretty much when the moon is hiding, right? It's resting. That this is something that you are deciding for you, and you don't want to share it. It's not that you're not ready to do it. You're moving in the shadows, which sounds really negative. And I mean, you might be, right? Some of you might be in a situation where it's like, okay, I have to make a plan and I can't let this other person know because it's not safe, or, worst case situation, it's not safe. Best case situation, they're just kind of a Debbie Downer and they're really critical, and you just don't want to hear that. But I feel like this new moon card is encouraging you to keep those things to yourself and to continue to work at them. And then once you're ready to do a hard launch, that's when you communicate it. And again, happily ever after. Capricorn is associated with the Pentacles as well. And so I feel like I feel like I just need to tell you that you're doing really well, because this is really heavy stuff, right? This is emotionally heavy. This feels very much like mentally heavy, energetically heavy. So yeah, I just want to tell you that like whatever it is that you're going through, you're dealing with, like I can feel how hard you're working. I can feel how hard you're trying. I can feel how like deliberate you're being. And I just want to acknowledge that, because like if you're not able to share this with people, it can be hard, right? So I hope that's encouraging for you, that like every single thing you're doing is moving towards your own happily ever after. But like I see you, I feel you, and like you're doing amazing. You're doing really good. So this next card is your soul's desire for you. So we have the Page of Coins, and then we have this addict light attribute. So it helps you recognize and confront addictive behavior. We've got this person kind of pushing back on this like water, this wave that's trying to crash over them. This Page of Coins in reverse, like the Page of Coins is really this sprouting energy. In the reverse, it's almost like this little coin is like sprouting to, or it's struggling to come up out of the ground. And so this Page of Coins in reverse, like it might feel to you like your efforts to overcome, confront, deal with some form of addiction, like it might feel like nothing's working. But the thing with plants, like when they're growing, like when we plant a seed in the ground, it takes months before like we can see it. And it doesn't mean that nothing's happening, right? Like the seed under the dirt has to crack open, and these little roots have to start to dig in to root that plant, you know, to secure that, anchor that plant into the ground. And then once it's fully anchored, then it can start to come up and sprout and bloom. And so like whatever efforts you're making around an addiction, and this can be something that is like what we typically think of addiction, you know, as far as like substances or you know, habits like smoking. This could even be like emotional eating. This can be overworking. This can be being addicted to our phones. Me too. Retail therapy, addiction to exercising, like anything that we are doing in excess to the point that it might be causing us a little bit of harm. I think you either are aware or you're becoming very aware of what those things are for you. And once you start to, or if you have already started to try to overcome those things and you feel like your efforts are futile, they are not. Like every little action that you take energetically, it's moving you towards this, right? Everything that you try to do to recognize and confront any addictive behaviors, because this doesn't talk about overcoming an addiction, right? This talks about recognizing that there's addictive behavior and then confronting the addictive behavior. And we can do that mentally and emotionally, right? We can recognize like, oh, when I have a bad day, I really believe that I need to eat a brownie, but sometimes I don't. And it's like, that is me like recognizing this addiction to sugar and possibly even confronting it, but definitely not giving into it, right? And so anytime that we do that, what's happening is we are reinforcing those roots to grow for change to happen. And that like it takes time, and it's hard to continue to move forward when we don't see progress. But this card is here to tell you that just because you don't see things happening, it doesn't mean that progress is not happening. So this is your soul's desire for you, to trust that every effort you make towards recognizing and confronting whatever it is that you do in excess that has become harmful to you, like that is creating progress for you. Like it's almost like this energetic, like if you had like an energetic piggy bank, right? Like each time that in your mind, you're like, oh, like I recognize that I'm doing that behavior that eventually becomes harmful to me. Like I just recognize that I'm doing it. Like that is a energetic coin in the bank, even though you're still taking that action. And so I feel like when it comes to like recovery, when it comes to changing behaviors, there's a lot of the inner critic that says like it has to be perfection over progress, and that's not how things work. It's progress over perfection. That like each time you recognize that you're doing the thing that can eventually become harmful when it is in excess, that is progress. Just seeing it, that is progress. Because there's so many people that operate, and that could have been you, like, and that, I mean, that was me too. That like for so long, I just was like, no, I just like brownies. I just eat a brownie whenever I want. And it's like, well, I do, but it just so happens that the majority of my brownie eating time is when I'm going through a really, really hard time in my life. And it's in excess, where like who eats brownies for breakfast 3 days in a row? Your girl. When she's not in a good place. And that's how I know, right? And it's like over the years, and I'm like, oh, this is that thing that I do. And then I realized 2 weeks later that I am in a depression spell. Oh, okay. So it's like, it takes so much time, right? It takes us time to like recognize those things and like dig into them and understand why we do them and make that progress. So like any time that, even if it's after the fact, right? Even if it's like after the fact that you have done whatever your thing is, your addiction thing in excess, even being able to reflect like, oh, I did that thing. Like, okay, I see. And like, oh, I see what happened. I got in an argument with this person and then it really upset me. And I just went for the thing that makes me feel better. Okay, so now I know my addiction is tied to a coping mechanism. Okay, I recognize it. And that, I mean, that's not one coin in your energetic piggy bank. That's like 5. That's a lot. So I am really harping on that because progress over perfection, right? That like your soul does not believe that you need to be a seed that gets planted and grows into like a full sunflower the next day. So please don't put that on yourself because it's not fair. Don't do my friend like that. Thank you. Okay, so the next cards that I have for you are your soul's desire for your connection with others. And so this is going to look at romantic and non-romantic connections. So let's look at your tarot card. Okay, so we have the Hanged Man in reverse. And the Hanged Man is really kind of about feeling stuck. Which we kind of talked about before. But with the Hangman in reverse, or the Hanged One in reverse, this is a choice to stay paused. So there is a reason. There's a reason possibly why you haven't felt the desire to connect with others, or there's a reason that you haven't had other people come in. I would say it's probably because you have a lot going on. And it's hard to be vulnerable enough to really be present with all of this, especially even just this, right? Even just this or this or this. Like being with any of these requires a very deep level of vulnerability with yourself for healing to happen. And to be in this vulnerable state and invite in new people is it's kind of a risky situation, right? Because like when we're feeling overwhelmed or vulnerable, we might not make the best decisions for ourselves. We might not be as aware of other people's behaviors because we're really kind of consumed with what is happening in our world. So if you if it doesn't feel appealing to meet people at all right now, I would say that you can disregard this message, but I feel like these are coming up for a reason. But I definitely would say if you're feeling like you're not really wanting to make any progress on your relationships, like you're not wanting to meet new people, like that I feel like that is the energy that's coming through. That it's kind of like I'm going to anchor here for now. I'm not ready to move forward or move backwards. Like I just kind of want to create a little bit of stillness right now. Like I feel like that's what this like hand with the anchor, like here you go, let's drop the anchor. Like that's kind of how it feels. Like let's see what's in your oracle cards. So this is the card for romance. It's keys on a ring, many options, decision, unconventional, string along, one night stand. Okay. So, I feel like with this, like if you are single right now, which I kind of feel like you might be, there's the string along and the one night stand. It feels very like that part feels very loud, right? That is what is available to you right now. Like that's really, and that's not a reflection of you. I feel like that's the energy of the area that you're in, like the people that are available to come into your life, like that's the energy that they are in, right? And this could be based on your age, you know, like if you're somebody that is a little, well, I feel like the age doesn't really matter because I mean I'm 43 and like I went on a couple dates with someone that I thought was 47, but they were not. They were like 62 because they couldn't change their profile age, whatever. And they were very much kind of in this energy, right? So I think that this might just be like the current state of dating. I don't know because I don't date. But it feels like there's like a lack of authenticity. Like this keys on a ring, it kind of feels like what I'm seeing in my mind is like the the scene from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with Johnny Depp where Veruca Salt is trying to catch one of the squirrels and he's trying to open the gate for the dad, but he just has this ring of all these keys and none of them are labeled and he's just like putting them in the lock and he's like, not that one. And he tries the next one. He's like, oops. Like that is the energy of this, that like there's a lot of people just trying to stick their keys in as many locks as possible. I don't know if that's the intent of these cards, if that is like the innuendoed message, but that feels very much like the energy, and that makes this anchor feel even more, this makes even more sense because this anchor's on a necklace and it almost feels like you are looking for your one person. You're looking for long-term commitment. You're looking for a partner. You're looking for someone that you can give your heart to, that you can really anchor in, someone that you can settle down with. And like that is not what is available right now. There are many options, but they're not great options. So and hey, maybe that's what you know, maybe that's not what you want. Yeah. I was gonna say maybe a little stress relief, but this feels like it is not appealing to you. So these non-romantic, the non-romantic card is awakening, a realization, shift, or discovery. So it feels like this is very much tied to this soul desire for this lifetime, you know, that in your connections with other people, you're looking for people that can help you kind of awaken to, you know, people that can support you in shifting, in making realizations, and really in discovering really some things about yourself. You're looking for very deep, almost like mentorship connections. And I feel like if there are things that you know that you want to get support in working on, like let's say it's I don't know, let's say that you need to save up money to move out, right? Let's say that like you want to move out from your roommates and you don't want to tell them, or maybe you want to move away from, like, move out of your parents' house and you don't want to tell them because they want you to stay there or whatever, but you're, you know, like you're not sure how much money you need, or you're not sure how to like save money, or like there's something with money, like putting out to the universe that like I need a mentor, or I need some guidance on money for this, and just like putting it out there and trusting that the universe is going to bring someone for you. And I say that because like with this Hanged Man upside down, it's like I'm not gonna move, and so it's almost like when you go shopping with somebody, but you guys get separated and someone calls the other person, they're like, I can't find you. Where are you? And they're like, I'm in the shoe department and it's like, okay, I know where that is. Stay there. I'll come and get you. That feels like the energy where you put it out to the universe. You know, you say to the universe, like, hey, I really need a mentor to help me with finances. Can you please send one? And the universe is like, yeah, I got you. Don't go anywhere. They'll be there in 10 minutes, right? Except for, well, maybe the universe talks to you like that. They do not talk to me like that. So if they talk to you like that, good for you. But it feels like, you know, in these non-romantic relationships, like the types of people that are coming to you, you know, because you're not moving, which is totally fine. The type of people that are coming to you are those people that want to help you with your awakening, that want to help you with this. And so if you want that to happen faster, like all you have to do is talk to the universe, God, spirit, source, your angels, your guides, and let them know specifically, like, this is what I'd really like. I'd really like a financial mentor, or I'd really like to meet someone that used to believe what I believe, that is, you know, believes something different now. And like, or I would love to find, you know, an AA group or an NA group or whatever kind of addiction support, you know, you want or need. And then last, we have messages for your happiness and fulfillment. Okay, I'm going to put this under here. Okay, so we have the Eight of Wands in reverse. And we've got this creative plane card, the ether, a field of consciousness, ocean, a source of ideas that leads to inspiration, and the success card. Oh, I really like that these two look very, whoops, can't see you, barn house. I really love that these two look very similar. Like this one looks like kind of nighttime and this one looks like the daytime. This kind of rainbow arch, almost the same, definitely same shape as the doorway. Eight of Wands in reverse is really about kind of slowing down. Taking action, but being very intentional, being deliberate, not being in a rush. You know, in the upright, Eight of Wands is speed, things happening really fast. This being in the reverse, it's like, hey, slow down. Like there's still things that are happening, but we don't have to rush. We don't need to like go and run. And, there's not a panic, right? There's not a panic. And with this creative plane card, like it's not like an airplane, it's like the plane of, almost like this plane of consciousness, like a plane, like is it I was gonna say it's a geometry, it's not. I feel like there is some form of math. I'm a bad Asian. There's some form of math, trigonometry, I don't know, that has to do with like planes, right? Like there's different levels, like these planes, these layers, these existences, like that is what this is talking about. And so like the message about like your fulfillment and happiness is, especially with this Eight of Wands in reverse and this like ether field of consciousness, like all things in due time. And like you can't miss anything that's meant for you. And so it feels like I'm curious if when you're dealing with this stuff, if you start to feel like your life is passing you by, like if you're starting to feel like these big things are really just distracting you from living. And if that is what comes up, like this message, especially these two, like this success and this happily ever after 10 of coins, like you are right where you need to be. In the times that you think that like you're not making progress in overcoming your addictive habits, you are right where you need to be. You're in the correct field, like you're in the right place, like, and especially with this like ocean, right? It talks about like the ether field of consciousness, the ocean. Like I think as human beings, we can feel like I need to be here on the map, but I'm over here and I have to figure out how do I get here Like, how do I get here from here as fast as possible? And so with this card talking about the ocean, it feels like the universe is like, just get in the ocean. And you're like, what part? And it's like the ocean. You're like, I'm there. What do I do? And they're like, great, you're right where you need to be. And you're like, but like by the shore or like do like way out? And they're like, you're there. And so I feel like as human beings, right? Like this is the ocean and the universe is like, just get in there. And you're like, I'm like over here. And they're like, no, you're fine. You're like, right, you're good. You're in the ocean. You're like, but do I get more in the ocean? I feel like the universe is like, oh, human. Oh, tiny human. like you look at this group number 2. They are doing the best they can. They don't know what's going on. Look at how adorable is this little human. You know, they're doing their, they don't get it. They don't know. They don't understand that you can't get more in the ocean. Like you are right where you need to be. And so I say that, I hope it doesn't sound like condescending or rude, because I don't mean it that way. I feel like it's just really important to convey that, like, as human beings, like, we get told all this stuff about how you have to be in the right place at the right time, or like everything's going to pass you by, or like whatever kind of BS it is that we're told to kind of control what we do or what we don't do. That like in the moments that these things are happening and you feel like life's passing you by, you're not where you're supposed to be, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, like you are exactly where you need to be. That like when you are doing the work of this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is the life stuff that you're supposed to be doing. It cannot pass you by because this is what your soul needs you to do. And that as you're working on each of these, in the time you're working on them, because like everything is fluid, you are continuing also to move towards this. You cannot miss this. Like there's no way, right? It's almost like if you were worried that you were going to sleep through the sun, right? That like, well, if I don't set my alarm, then I won't be awake when the sun's up. And it's like that, I mean, how tired are you? Right? Like the likelihood you're going to sleep through the whole day the sun is out is pretty, I mean, unless you're really sick or you're like under anesthesia or something, it's pretty unlikely. And like, you don't have to worry about it. Also, we have lights. So if you do sleep through the sun, like we have electricity, you can turn a light on, like there's going to be some sort of illumination. It's going to be okay. So it's almost like it feels like to the universe, like your fear that you're wasting time doing these things sounds almost as like kind of preposterous and nonsensical as like, I have to set my alarm so that I don't miss the sun being up. It's like, well, what do you need the sun for? It's like, well, for a light. And it's like, but we have electricity. Like it's okay. Like if you need to sleep, you can sleep. You know, like if you need to work on these things, like that's what you're supposed to be doing. There's not other stuff you're supposed to be doing. And while you're working on these, you're moving towards this success and this happily ever after. And I feel like I need to like continue to repeat that, either because that feeling of like wasting your time, missing out, is either something that's part of this kind of value system, this programming that you grew up with, or it's something that like you hold really hard against yourself that you don't need to. That like the things we are told we need to do in our lives, as we grow older, we realize that those weren't the things that were important at all. That all the other stuff that was happening in life was actually the things that we needed to be doing. And that like, if I could give a personal example, like I had a YouTube channel that I started during quarantine, and then we had to go back to work, and so I stopped doing it because I couldn't record and edit and like post and work a full-time job. And so it kind of fell to the wayside, and then I ended up starting this one. But before that, like I got a job with a nonprofit, and the job was like social media management and like kind of creating digital content for social media. And it was very like the application was, or the job description was like very loose. And so one of the things that my boss wanted to start doing was like more reels, because people love video. And because I had already known how to do like video editing and like audio editing and just a lot of that content stuff from having my YouTube channel before, it was really easy for me to do it. I was really fast at it. Like I was really good at it. People enjoyed watching them. And when I was doing the YouTube channel, I didn't understand why I was doing it, because I thought it was weird to like read cards to people. I thought this was weird. And here we are, but it was like, I just had this nudge. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I didn't have anything else to do during quarantine. It was like a couple months where we couldn't go to work because, pandemic, nobody knew what was going on. It was like a weird time. And so I didn't think about doing it with the intention of like, okay, I got to start a YouTube channel and learn video editing and audio editing and learn how to do all this stuff, because one day I'm going to need it for a job that I'm going to have for a short time. Like it was like just part of this random life stuff that I was doing. And like in hindsight, like it wasn't like in hindsight, I didn't go through it so that I would have skills to take to a job. Like in hindsight, like it helped me find my voice. It helped me like learn how talented I am, and even like with that job, I got laid off from that job. But like one of the things that job helped me to see was that like I am fully capable of like having my own business, like of working for myself, and like I will never work for someone else again. Like I wholeheartedly know that. I think that I kind of had this feeling that I was gonna own my own business, but I was like, oh God, I don't want to do that, because I don't want to have a restaurant. I don't want to have like a brick and mortar store. And in my mind, that's what it meant to be an entrepreneur. And it was like, oh, I don't want to be a coach. Like I'm a certified coach, but like the industry is just, I'm not a big fan of it. Which is why I don't really talk about being a certified coach. But it's like, when I had thought about that even before the pandemic, I was like, oh, I don't want to do all those things. I don't want to own a restaurant or own a business. And now fast forward, like 6, 7, 8 years, I'm like, oh, I absolutely will never work for someone else again. No way. You would have to drag me kicking and screaming, or it would have to be like working for like one person that like maybe I consult for. And then like I still don't really work for you, right? Like being like a contractor. But I share all that to say that like sometimes when we're doing these individual things, it feels like I don't know why I'm doing this. Like I don't know why I'm doing this, or even like it's done and that was pointless. Like nothing changed, nothing happened. Like I didn't become like an independently wealthy YouTuber. I don't think that's why I started my original channel. I think I was bored. But, for a couple of years, I was like, well, it was a thing I did that didn't really amount to anything, but it's like there's content out there and like, I don't know. So in the times that you feel like you're not sure why you're doing what you're doing, or like that what you're doing like doesn't matter, like I shared all that personal stuff to tell you that it absolutely matters, and that there are places that you're going that you can't see yet because you haven't gotten far enough down the path. Right? That everything kind of looks like this weird spiral, and it feels like you're having your lunch money shaken out. And like you don't want to speak up, you don't want to move forward. You're dealing with some big things. Like you are exactly in the correct plane that you need to be in, and that every single small step you take is leading you towards this success and this happily ever after. So if you don't believe that at this point, then I'm just gonna have to keep re-explaining it. Just kidding. But yeah, that there are good things coming with every single little action that you take. And so I hope that brings you a lot of comfort and support as you're moving through these big things that you're moving through. And so group number 2, this has been your reading. And I just want to say thank you so much for letting me read your cards. These are some big topics, and I appreciate that you trust me enough to let me read cards for you on these things. I want to say thank you so much for being here. Thank you for choosing this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope you feel supported, and I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, group number 3. So if you chose this 5 of Pentacles card and the 7th house sun Astro Dice, this is your reading. So I will be pulling, or I did pull cards, tarot and oracle cards for your soul's desire for this lifetime, for right now, for you, for your connections, both romantic and non-romantic, and then your fulfillment and happiness. So let's look at your soul's desire for this lifetime. We have the World. It says the world may be big, but my shopping bags are bigger. Interesting. And this self-esteem card. Okay. So the message is, I possess gifts of the soul that benefit me and others. Okay. The bags make sense now. Also, 7th house sun. Sun is like the sun card is like our kind of soul essence. 7th house is about partnerships, collaborations, balance, harmony. Feels like there's a message on balance, especially with like, she's got these, let me move those out of the way. She's got these 2 shopping bags, like she's got quite a few in each hand. So it looks like she's kind of balancing things. This talks about possessions, bags, possessing gifts. And then also with this 5 of Pentacles card, the 5 of Pentacles can be a card that talks about scarcity. But I feel like really the reason that it came up is because this is another balance card. Like when we look at this guy, he's on his crutches and he's literally balancing himself on them, right? Like he's got his good leg back here and his broken leg up here. And he's even has a broken, like what is happening? This guy's out of control. I'm going to put him here. I feel like she's looking at him like, what is happening? Like, what are you doing? Your soul's desire for this lifetime is, it feels like for you to learn, how to give and receive equally. That like the World card is about closing out a cycle, like ending a cycle. And it almost feels like you're very comfortable with satisfying your own needs, but you struggle with like receiving things from people. And like this self-esteem talks about, I possess gifts of the soul that benefit me and others. And it feels like that 7th house collaboration, like it's hard for you because we've got this person that like we can tell they need some help, but they're by themselves. And then we've got you and you're by yourself, and you're kind of almost like looking down on this person that needs help, but it's really you looking down on this part of yourself that struggles to ask for help. And that's the balance, right? That like, just like you have gifts to give, like these bags are almost like presents, like you have lots of gifts to give to the world. Other people have lots of gifts that they want to give to you. And it's almost like the concept that like when we don't ask people for help, or we don't allow other people to help us, we're taking away an opportunity for them to care for us, especially when they're people that care about us. That helping each other is an act of like love and care. And when we don't allow others to help us when we need it, or we don't make ourselves ask for help when we know that we need it, we are taking away that opportunity for other people to show us love and care. And so this is kind of tied into your self-esteem, I think, because you're the one that's always taking care of other people. And I feel like it comes up that like you know, like I'm always doing for other people, but like nobody does anything for me. Nobody offers anything to me. And, you know, it feels like there's this part of your brain that's like, well, I don't really need help anyway. It's fine. And really the issue is not help. The issue is that sometimes it feels like people don't care about you because they don't demonstrate that care. And like that causes your brain to have this belief that people don't care about you. And really what it is that like people don't know how to help you because you're so good at doing everything by yourself. And so they want to take care of you. Like they want to show you that they care for you, but like they don't know how. And so I would invite you to do something really radical and get really uncomfortable and ask someone that you know cares about you to do something for you or to help you with something. And that can be as small as like, hey, you know, I'm coming home with the groceries. Do you mind coming out and helping me carrying them in? Or even coming in with some bags of groceries and you know, asking like, hey, can you help me grab the rest of them? You know, because I feel like there's people around you that are just like jumping at the chance to like offer you their gifts, you know, that like you might have a really like gifted helper around you that just like, they just been waiting to help you. They're like, oh, I hope today's the day that group number 3 asks me for help because I can't wait. Wait to help them. So that is your soul's purpose for this lifetime. So your soul's purpose for right now is the 10 of Wands. Love is like carrying a heavy load of roses, but only when it's, when it's only one-sided, the thorns will prick you endlessly. Okay, so 10 of Wands is about doing too much. And then this Moonology card says, have faith in your dreams, waxing crescent moon. It feels like your soul's desire for this current chapter that you're in, like this current issue that you're dealing with, is to, how do I say this in a nice way? To stop trying so hard. That the things that, the dreams that you have in your heart, like they're coming, like your soul is going to bring those things to you. Your soul's already working on it. So like, please, like to me, this feels like stand down, like take a pause. Why don't you go watch some TV? Why don't you go, why don't you go take a walk in the park, while your soul works on some of this stuff. Because there's nothing you can do that can make it happen any faster. Like your soul already has a plan for whatever this dream is that you have, and that your job is not to make it happen. Your job is to hold faith in your soul and in the universe that it is coming, and to learn the very fun lesson of divine timing. That the world tells us that we can control things. The world tells us that if we do all the things, we can make things happen faster. And I feel like the universe laughs at that. Like a great big like belly laugh. Like they're like, oh, it's so cute. Group number 3, look at you just trying to force things to happen that you have no power over, that are already coming for you in their own due time. Look at group 3. Look at this little human. What are they doing? We don't know. Yeah, you're trying too hard. You're trying too hard to earn something that's already for you. It's almost like if someone tells you that you're gonna excuse me, it's like if someone tells you that they are going to get you a birthday gift and your birthday is next month, and you sit in your room and try to will time to pass faster so you can get your birthday gift sooner. Like that doesn't work that way. Like you can't change time, And so it's like you just kind of have to wait. Like you have to trust that they're going to give you the gift, like they said, that they got you the gift, and that when your birthday comes, they will present you with the gift, and then you can open it and have it, and that you're going to enjoy it. Like, yeah, that's your soul's desire for right now. So your soul's desire for you is this Queen of Swords. Okay, so this says the T square is mightier than the sword. Don't make me use this T-square. I don't know what a T-square is for. I feel like this is like a construction thing. Maybe it's a school thing. I don't know. But the Queen of Swords is, she is someone that is a very good communicator. She's very direct. She can feel a little harsh because she's direct, but she's not mean. It just doesn't make sense to her as a communicator to like fancy up the message or kind of flower up the message when like it sometimes is as simple as yes or no. There doesn't, sometimes she feels like a yes is just as good as a, oh, I would love that. It's the same message. Maybe it carries different like sounds, but the intention, the energy is the same. And then next we have bully. And so the light attribute, since this is in the upright, it says highlight your tendency to intimidate others, helps you confront the inner fears that bully you. Yeah. So this Queen of Swords can be a bully. Yeah. It feels like the thing that you're being the thing that the universe wants for you is to release the need to be the one that's always in power. Like, and also to kind of look at like, what would it mean if you weren't in power? What would it mean if you weren't the one that was directing things? What would it mean if you were just to be a member of the crowd and just kind of, or a member of the team and just kind of be following orders that other people have given you? And I think the first thing that came up was that like people don't know what they're doing. And so there might be this part of you that like, I feel like this is kind of tied together, right? That like, I don't ask for help because most people don't know how to help me. Or if I don't do it, nobody will. Or if I don't do it, nobody does it right. And so it very much feels like what this creates is it essentially causes you to be like an island of a person, that it causes you to become so isolated because you hold this belief that like, if you don't do it, it won't get done right. If you don't do it, nobody else will. Nobody knows what they're doing. Nobody's capable. You're the only one. So if you were the only one that's capable of doing things, then you have to do everything. And that's too much for any one person to carry. And that's not how the world's designed, right? Like if you look at all these systems that are in place for people, it's like when you go to the grocery store, like the person that is the cashier at the grocery store is not the person that's managing the cashiers. It's not the person that's like stocking the vegetables and the produce and all the things. It's not the person that's driving the truck to deliver the stuff. It's not the person that built the building the grocery store's in. It's not the person that does the marketing. Like one person, like you can't do everything. And because you're so tied to doing everything, I think that it is possible that people kind of see you as a bully. And that might be why people don't offer to help. That might be because they understand that you have this really high standard for how things need to be done. And like, maybe they know they can't do it like you, but they want to help and they just don't know how. Because maybe they don't know how to do it the way you do, but they know how to get it done. And they know how to take direction. They know how to listen, But yeah, it feels like there's some form of your self-esteem comes from being in charge. And so I would invite you to question, what does it mean if I'm not the one that's in charge? What does it mean if I'm not the authority figure? What does it mean if I'm not the one that's doing all the things? Yeah. Okay, and so next we have Your soul's desire for your connections with others. And we have this Two of Swords. Okay. So Two of Swords is about kind of indecision, uncertainty. Not sure which way to go. There's a fork in the road and you don't exactly know which way to go. It's hard to make a decision. Your senses are kind of blocked, right? Like she's got these it's got these like VR glasses on, but the arms crossed in front of the body, it kind of represents like this kind of guarded energy. So you might be kind of avoidant or detached when it comes to connecting with others. Like maybe you don't know how, maybe you don't want to, maybe it doesn't feel safe. So the message for romantic connections is not enough. So frustrated in relationship, lack of confidence, self-sabotage, fear, ego issues, or jealousy. Yeah, so it feels like you don't believe that you are enough. And again, self-confident, lack of confidence, the self-esteem thing. This might be why you're trying to do so much. You're trying to hustle for your worthiness. And you might have dated people in the past that really left you with this impression, or you might have had relationships or situations with people where you were left with this feeling that you are not enough. And that is why you do all the things now. You're trying to prove to whoever that person was that may not be in your life anymore that you are enough. And you've always been enough, and that like, I feel like really digging into this, right? Really digging into figuring out like, what would it mean about me if I wasn't in charge, if I wasn't doing all the things, if I wasn't, always leading, helping, directing people. I think once you resolve that, this feeling of not enough in relationships is going to go away because it's all tied together. It's all the same thing. Non-romantic message is energy activation. Connect to the divine through meditation or prayer. I feel like that very much kind of goes with this Two of Swords as well, because the little VR glasses in the traditional tarot, they have a blindfold over their face, but the, kind of dark in the background, sitting still, lack of movement. So I feel like this is very much connected to that meditation or prayer, like taking some quiet time. I really feel like taking that time to just connect, to get in the quiet, to meditate, I feel like that is really going to be helpful for you, especially as you kind of start to allow yourself to question, like, what would it mean, or what does it mean about me? What am I making it mean about me if I'm not the one that's in charge, if I'm not doing all the things, if I'm not focused on other people? Because I feel like sometimes when we're really outwardly focused, we have a tendency not to give ourselves enough quiet time to figure out what it is that we need, right? Maybe what kind of healing do you need to focus on instead of like directing everybody else, instead of worrying about everybody else, instead of doing all the things for everybody else? Like what internal things, because when we have any tarot card where someone has like their eyes closed or their eyes are covered, it's an invitation to go inward, to look inward. And even when we look at this card, his face is really buried in those roses, right? So it's like there's something we don't want to look at, and there's also something that we're not able to see because we're so focused on looking at everything else around us. And so I feel like that's why this like connection to the divine, through meditation or prayer card is coming up. And I think this energy activation, like this, there's going to be some sort of like kind of cracking open or epiphany that begins to happen for you around this stuff when you start to spend that quiet time alone with yourself. So finally, we have a message for your soul's desire for your fulfillment and happiness. So we have this Four of Cups, feeling a bit introspective today, just me, my teddy bear, and my thoughts. So this card, the Four of Cups, is not usually associated with inner child healing, but with this person and the teddy bear, it very much feels like that's what's needed. Let me see if I can kind of move some of these around and fit everybody in. The Four of Cups can also be a card that tells us that we're like, there's a little bit of dissatisfaction, right? That the things that are being offered to us are not exactly what we want. We're not happy with the way that things are. And I think with this card coming up, and the meditation and starting to kind of question what it means about yourself if you're not, in charge doing all these things, I think that might bring up some stuff from your childhood that, is ready to be examined, to be healed, to be connected with. Next, we have this creative expansion card. You are not limited. Expansion is not a lack of dedication. Expansion is openness to infinite and unexpected possibilities. I think it's interesting that it says expansion is not a lack of dedication, because this is almost the flip side of this 10 of Wands, right? When I talked about you're doing too much, there's a part of you that wants to do all the things, but it does not want to do all the things for everybody else. It's that you want to experience all the things. You want to do all the things. Like, you might be someone that's like, I want to learn how to weld, and then I also want to learn how to program computers, and I want to learn how to paint, and I learned how to do this. And so sometimes people can see, like, when people can describe that as being like scattered. And so I feel like that's kind of the negative kind of part of this, like the negative connotation about expansion that they're talking about. Like, it's not that you have a lack of dedication. You just have you have a really wide expanse of interests. You have a really high capacity for like consuming information. You have a really high desire to create or learn or grow or whatever it is. And so I feel like this card, because these two energies are tied together, in the times that you realize you are doing too much, especially for others, I feel like that's how you know that that's how it comes to you. Like, when you're doing too much, it's always for other people. So when you get to that feeling that like, oh no, I'm doing too much again, that is your invitation to go into expansion for you, for your enjoyment, into whatever topic is in that list of like 200 things you want to do before you're not on this planet anymore, like however you describe it. But it could be a hobby. The times that you are doing too much, I would invite you to allow that to be an indicator that it's time for you to dive into your own expansion, like into expanding and growing into something that is interesting to you. And that's going to bring you a lot of fulfillment. And then finally, we have this space card. And so this card is connected to happiness for you. And so I feel like, actually, I think I want to put it over. Let me see. Here we go. Yeah, that feels good. I feel like this space card is connected to this meditation and prayer that, you spend a lot of time and energy on other people. And I feel like it might seem counterintuitive to you if you were someone that does not spend a lot of time alone, but you giving yourself lots of space to create and connect with yourself. This could even be like more sleep, because this is just kind of darkness, getting more rest, especially like at the times that you're doing too much. You might just be tired. This card can be a card of exhaustion, and this kind of dark space could be like needing to sleep, needing to just give yourself more time to rest, getting some like a little sleep mask that you can wear to kind of make the space darker so that you sleep better. even with this dreams card, like we need really deep sleep in order to dream. So for some of you, like and also with this Five of Pentacles, this, this wounded person, this injured person, like you need rest to recover. A lot of times use a teddy bear when you go to bed. So very strong messages about getting quality sleep and getting enough sleep. And really getting quality sleep is going to bring you a lot of happiness, that like sleep regulates our moods and our hormones. And that you like, I don't know why I feel like I need to say this, but like you've done enough. Like you have more than earned the right to rest. Like you've done more than enough. So there might be some part of you that doesn't believe that you have, but I'm telling you, you have. You've done way more than enough. And your soul wants for you to give yourself some time. Give yourself some time for healing. Give yourself some time for rest. Give yourself some time for meditation. Give yourself some time to, enjoy the really creative, fulfilling things that you want to do, that you've been wanting to do, that you haven't had time for. Give yourself a break from like knowing and doing all the things. Yeah, like you have more than done enough to earn some rest and relaxation and time to enjoy whatever it is that you want to enjoy. And I think that the time that you are working on or allowing yourself to become more creative, giving yourself more time and space to create, and giving yourself more time and space for rest, that's going to shift your self-esteem as well. I think because in these times, like that's you taking time for yourself, and in the time that you are spending with yourself by yourself, that is you investing energy into you. That is you showing yourself that you love yourself, that you believe that you are worthy of your own time and energy. And to me, that's really what self-love is. That the way that we show others that we love them is by doing all these things for them, being around them, spending time with them. It's very much the same for how we show ourselves love. Like, how much time have you spent by yourself with yourself? How many things have you done for yourself that you enjoy? How much comfort have you offered yourself? How much quality sleep have you offered yourself? That those are acts of love for you. So yeah, group number 3, this has been your Soul's Desire reading. So this one was pretty brief. The other 2 were pretty long. But I feel like it might be this Queen of Swords energy that you just like things really direct, like you like to hear it direct, just like you like to speak directly. But yeah, this was just very concise reading. So I hope that you enjoyed it. I want to say thank you so much for letting me read your cards. Thank you for being here, and thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the reading. I hope that it makes you feel supported. I hope that you're able to give yourself some extra rest and comfort and care, and love, because you absolutely deserve it. You deserve all of it, and so much more. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, group number 4. So if you chose this 9 of Cups card and this Scorpio and Neptune astro dice, this is your reading. So I pulled tarot and oracle cards for you from a ton of decks. And so we're going to go over what your soul's desire is for this lifetime, for right now, for you, for your connections, both romantic and non-romantic, and then for your fulfillment and your happiness. So let's see what your soul's desire is for this lifetime. Okay, so we have Knight of Swords and Envy. I am the same as everybody, but with different challenges. Very interesting. So I'm getting some comparison energy here with like the Knight of Swords. Like it's very much, swords are about the mind. We've got this kind of spiral here with this brain and this kind of illumination over the earth. It almost feels like this is what your soul wants to overcome in this lifetime. I feel like this is something that you've dealt with for multiple lifetimes. That there has been kind of this almost like overactive mind, in that like your mind can get hyper focused on comparison and like what they have that you don't have, and what you have that they don't have, and like all these imbalances and like this unfairness, and that it's like the spiral, like it doesn't stop. Like you kind of almost like you mentally spiral when it comes to comparison, and it almost feels like in some ways it can be things that look really trivial to other people, but it's almost like your brain runs away with itself, where it's like maybe you have plans to like meet some friends for brunch, and like you get into such a mental spiral around like what to wear, and like if it's okay to dress that way, and like what you like and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, and like am I overdressed, or is this too revealing, or like it's very much like this analysis paralysis where your brain kind of ping pongs between all these different ideas, concepts, thoughts. And it's like you, from the outside, it looks like you kind of freeze. And so this makes me think that it might be tied to some kind of like survival instinct, right? Because like survival instinct is like fight, flight, or freeze, as well as fawn. But the typical ones that people, are aware of are like fight or flight, and then like this freezing, and that like you it's almost like you get stuck inside your brain, and that like it's almost like these I'm not a doctor, I'm not a mental health professional, but it almost feels like what I would imagine. I don't know. I've never experienced it, but it almost feels like what I would imagine like OCD is probably like, where like because it feels like if I don't allow my brain to go through this process, then I will be stuck in it and I can't do anything. So it's almost like it feels like when parents have to get the grocery shopping done and their toddler is having a temper tantrum because they can't get a toy, so they just give them the toy so that they can get the grocery shopping done, right? Like they don't want to reward the bad behavior, but it's like I don't have enough time to leave this half full basket in the grocery store, take you to the car, wait for your meltdown to stop, talk to you about why we don't behave that way, and then come in and get the groceries and get home and make dinner and do all the things, or like pick up your siblings from school. Like it's almost like it's like this weird kind of hostage situation, right? Where like the toddler doesn't know that they have all this control, and they're not trying to exert their control. They're just being a toddler. Like they just want what they want because they're two. They don't, you know what I mean? Like there's not this like higher level functioning. It's not like, as a toddler, I'm going to try to control my parents. No, it's like, I want that thing. That looks fun. I want one. And I'm mad that I can't have it. And it's almost like that's how your brain is operating. That like, if I don't let it just process this thing that's happening right now, it's going to derail everything else I have for the day. But what happens is there's a cost to that, right? So like, let's say that like we go back to that example at the grocery store. Like if that parent hasn't budgeted for that $15 toy and they don't have enough money, then like, do they not let the child buy the toy knowing that that's a little bit of betrayal? Or do they leave things out of their grocery cart because they don't want to harm the child by taking the toy away? And so it's like this, it almost feels like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, right? Because the resources are finite. You only have so much time, right? And it's like part of you wants to spend time with your friends, but the other part of you is like so worried about like what to wear or what not to wear. And it's like, I just have to let my brain go through this process. But that might mean that you're like 15 minutes late. That might mean that you just don't go because the process took 3 hours. So I feel like that is like what you're overcoming. That is your soul's desire. And so I feel like this Scorpio and Neptune is like completely matching that energy. Scorpio is a water sign that goes deep, like really, really deep. Neptune rules the mind, But Neptune is so, it's like one of those really kind of far out planets. So like the orbit, it moves very, very slowly, and it doesn't have like the same strong impact on us as the moon does. Like it has this collective influence, but like it only really strongly impacts us like at certain times, you know, like when there's like maybe certain aspects with like our natal chart. And this is kind of getting deep into astrology, but I say that because it feels like this is something that has become a norm for you because it's predictable, even though it's not constant, right? So it's almost like if you're a woman, it if you're a woman that's been through puberty, it is not unheard of that once a month you'll have really, really strong stomach cramps. That might be normal for you, right? If you are a man and you had really, really strong stomach cramps, that would be extremely alarming because that is not normal for you. When we think of looking at that example, when you look at like just health in general, like are really severe stomach cramps like what we would describe as like healthy for the body? Is that like is that a symptom that's normal with like, or is that a symptom that's common with someone that's described as healthy? You know, and so for you, it might be like, absolutely not. Like, I know stomach cramps, that's not normal for me, and that's like really bad. For other people, you know, like if every menstruating woman in your family has really severe stomach cramps, and it's like, yeah, that's the norm for us. And so I say all that to go back to this comparison, that I would invite you, only if it feels right, because like I said, I'm not a mental health professional, I'm not a doctor, but to ask the people that are around, especially family, if this is something that they experience, you know, or even like asking like close friends your age if this is something that they experience. And based on those answers, I feel like that's going to give you some kind of like insider guidance, like because I feel like if this is something that's like hereditary, if this is something that like other people in your family struggle with, you know, that's going to lead you down a certain course of, it feels like, research. And if you discuss this with like people that are your friends, I feel like it's going to give them a lot of insight into what you're dealing with. Because I think that like people don't know this, and really like I feel like that's where that hostage energy is coming from, that you are essentially being held hostage to your brain. Like that, how I saw that like you kind of get into this freeze where it looks like you're not doing anything. Like from the outside, it looks like you're not doing anything, but you're like really processing. And so I think that when you're in that freeze state, like if people are around you, like, or if they're kind of aware that you freeze, they don't understand what it is. They think you're just like not doing anything. Like, so this could be like, you might have been labeled as like lazy, or like, because I feel like that's kind of this thing that we do as humans. Like when we don't understand what other people are dealing with, like we think that we go to the negative, right? So it's like, if you don't know that someone is like has epilepsy and they're always like cutting up and acting crazy and doing weird things, and then they start having a seizure and you think that they're joking, you know, like you might react to that seizure in like a not so compassionate, empathetic way, you know, and then find out later like, oh my gosh, you have epilepsy. Like, I didn't know. I thought you were just like cutting up. I thought you were just doing the crazy stuff you normally do. Right. And it's like when the people around you don't know that you're dealing with this, and if they did, like, I feel like you have so much like help and support around you. And so part of you breaking through this, like your soul's desire to break out of this, part of that is going to be like sharing this with people that you trust, that you know love and care about you, because they want to help you. And somebody is going to, it's part of the course for you releasing this, healing this. So next we have your soul's desire for right now. Okay, so we have this King of Cups. And confidence is your key to success. New moon in Leo. I think we will have a new moon in Leo in August. But King of Cups, this energy is very much about like emotions. Being able to, I don't want to say master our emotions or overcome our emotions, like being able to essentially become an observer to those emotions, like gaining this like kind of sovereignty, this individual power of ourselves over our emotions. So we have this cup that's inside this circle, and then we've got these kind of pitchforks and like this kind of fire in the background. But it's, you know, it's almost like this little pink bubble is protecting this cup from, you know, like it's not getting impaled by these, like it's not being burnt up in the fire. And I feel like this is very much like that energy of King of Cups, that like this, I feel like this stuff is happening because right now, like the lesson or the thing that your soul desires right now is for you to learn how to see your emotions and not be your emotions. I hope that makes sense. That like, I think that you really have this feeling because of this, it's left you feeling really powerless, and that like, almost like you're a prisoner inside your own body or inside your own mind. And like whatever you're dealing with right now, it could be this, whatever it is that you're dealing with right now, like this current issue, this current chapter really is kind of what this is. Like your soul's desire is for you to know that you are an observer of your emotions, that like you are not your feelings. You have feelings, you're experiencing feelings, like you are not your feelings. So the times that you feel anxious, you are not anxiety, you are experiencing it. And like learning how to kind of detach from it, it makes me think of, I can't remember the name of the movie, where like the different emotions are little characters. Like if you can learn to label your emotions and see them as kind of independent things instead of seeing them as you. Like I feel like that is going to be like learning how to do that. Learning how to observe your feelings, like, oh, look at that joy dancing around over there. Aw, like, look at that joy. It feels really good, you know? Or like, oh, there's some sadness here inside me today. And like, okay, what does the sadness need? The sadness just needs to kind of have some quiet time. So maybe on my commute to work, I'm not going to listen to music, to just give that sadness that is here, you know, the kind of quiet that it needs. And in this disconnection, like not even disconnection, because it's not what it is, like in learning, in this practice of like observing your emotions, like seeing your emotions as like separate from you, it's going to really build your confidence. And I feel like that is definitely a key part to this. And I feel like we haven't even touched on this little Nine of Cups that's floating out here. Nine of Cups is a wish fulfillment card. And so you have this little fairy here with her little wand. She's ready to grant wishes and the rainbow. 9 is about like completing something, you know, like completing a cycle, closing out a cycle. And so I'm curious if this is something you've been dealing with for like a really long time, possibly like your whole life. If you're someone that's younger, if you're younger, it feels like you might be in your 20s. If you're a little bit older, this might be something that comes up from time to time, something that's triggered by different things that happen. But it really feels like part of that wish fulfillment is like, I wish I could overcome this. Like, I wish this just didn't bother me anymore. I wish this wasn't an issue. And I feel like in this current time, if you can learn how to observe your emotions instead of your emotions driving the car that is you, if that makes sense. Like it almost looks like because there's this hijacking that happens. It's like the same, your brain is much stronger than your emotions, but it almost feels like you're driving in the car and you have some anger come up, and it's like you stop the car and you open the door and anger just like yanks you out and they take off with your car. Like that's what it feels like, and it feels like you're just kind of standing on the side of the road like, what just happened? Like what is going on? And that, like, if you can learn how to just sense those emotions when they come up and almost like try to give it like a face or a name, or in your mind imagine like what it would look like, and maybe watching that movie will help. I can't remember the name of the movie, but it's like, I want to say it's a Pixar movie about emotions. Like you can Google it if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about. But even just trying to, like, in your mind create like a little image of each emotion that you like once you recognize it, and just think of it as something that is with you, next to you, instead of like just being overwhelmed with the feelings. Because I think there's this part of you that believes like, I am sadness, I am anger, I am anxiety, and you are not. You are group number 4 experiencing sadness. You are group number 4 experiencing anxiety. You are group number 4, just like the food we eat, right? Like you are not a hamburger. You are a person that ate a hamburger, right? And so I feel like emotions are the same way. You are a person that felt anger. You're a person that felt anxiety. You're a person that felt sadness. You're a person that felt rage. Yeah. But I feel like this is your soul's desire for right now, for you to learn how to observe your emotions instead of being so affected by them, and for you to gain a lot of confidence in doing that, which you will. Like, this is something that's going to be a really pivotal shift for you. And so it says confidence is key to your success, but like you will be successful in learning how to do this, and that is going to boost your confidence. And next we have your soul's desire for you. Three of Pentacles. Lovely. So this is a card of collaboration. We've got these 3 people here, and they're kind of talking and, kind of moving these flowers. And then we have this little angel. It's like this triangle is, the triangle is a really stable structure. Also, we have these grapes here, which is a sign of abundance. So this is just a really positive card of like collaboration, connection. Let's see what else is here. Okay. So, child magician. With this being in the reverse, I'm going to read the shadow attribute, and I'm going to read it as what you need to release. If this was upright, I would read it as what you need to move forward. So the shadow attribute of child. I said child magician, magical child. The shadow attribute of the magical child is pessimism, depression, and disbelief in miracles, believing that energy and action are not required for growth. Okay, so this very much feels like powerlessness to me. Pessimism, depression, and like disbelief in miracles, believing that energy and actions are not required for growth, believing that I don't need to do anything, is another way that we could read that. And so with this 3 of Pentacles, this is a card of collaboration, like I said. I think that as you share this with the people that are close to you, as you learn how to observe your feelings instead of being really kind of ruled by them, as you learn to confide in people, as you learn to trust the people that care about you more, it's going to help you to see that like your brain and your emotions really, like, they really did a number on you. And it's almost like a weird, like, it makes me think of like an abusive relationship, where it's like one of the kind of common things with like abusive relationships is one person will try to isolate the other person. And it almost feels like your brain and your emotions have been trying to isolate you. And I think it's for the purpose of protection. Like, they've been trying to protect you I don't know what, from something, from someone, from repeating another experience, like whatever happened to you before. I feel like you will know. It could have been something really significant. It could have been something really small. With this Three of Pentacles, like, and these three women, this feels like a group of friends. That, like, what your soul wants for you is a really strong, like, group of friends. You know, it wants for you to have these people, but it feels like you are not open to it, or like you're hesitant, like you're not closed off, but with this body language, this little child is by herself. She's really kind of contracted, right? Like legs underneath her, arms over her body, her torso's kind of hunched over, like very much closing off, almost like she's making a shell around her heart. And so I wonder if something happened to you when you were a kid, that maybe like you got bullied, maybe you had friends that like you thought were your friends, they turned out not to be your friends. And so now some part of your brain and your heart, your emotions has decided like it's better for us to be alone. And I think some of the envy comes from that like, how come everybody else has to get friends, like, or how come everybody else gets to have friends and I don't? I don't know why I cannot talk. Like I can't get these words out. Maybe you feel like this too. Like these are things that you can't say to people. Like these are things that you've never said out loud. These are things that are really hard to say. And it almost feels like in your brain and your heart protecting you from everybody else, it's become this echo chamber that kind of runs your life. That like whatever beliefs you have about like wounds that happened before, like those are so deeply ingrained that there is no other truth. And that's why you need to release like these shadow attributes, right? Like this, like disbelief in miracles, like this pessimism, this depression. And I feel like even just acknowledging that like it's possible that you don't believe that you can have these really amazing group of friends. Like maybe I do believe that. That I feel like even that small thing of like being open to the possibility that you don't believe that you can have that is going to be like really significant, because I think with belief systems, like if we are not open to beliefs that challenge what we believe, then we will just kind of stay stuck in this rut that like our brain has made, right? That like when we have repeated thoughts, like it creates these grooves in our brain, right? And that like when we think different thoughts, even if we don't believe them, if we practice them, it's kind of the concept of mantras, that it creates these new neurons and new pathways in our brain. And so if you want to try it out for 2 weeks, saying the mantra like, I deserve loving friendships. I deserve loving friendships. I want loving friendships. I invite in loving friendships. I desire loving friendships. I am worthy of loving friendships. That picking any one of those or saying all of them, like once a day, every day for 2 weeks, like you don't have to believe it. Like the power is not in the belief when you say it. The power is in the speaking of it, the reading of it, the saying of it. If you can say it out loud, it's very powerful because you hear it. Your mind hears it. Your heart hears it. And even though you don't feel like you are the driver of your own body, like if your body is a car, you're the driver, not your brain, not your heart, you, the essence of you. You are the driver of your body. You're the king of, your vessel. And that I feel like saying these mantras, even if you're like in the car and you're like, oh, I'm experiencing the feeling of hunger. Oh, I'm experiencing the feeling of frustration at this traffic. Like even practicing, like saying things like this, like that's going to help you get that autonomy over your feelings. Or like, I am experiencing a mental spiral right now. And like, it almost, to me, it almost feels like for your brain, it's almost like when, gosh, when you're a kid and like your parents kind of give you like, it's almost like they put you on notice in a way where they're like, I saw what you're doing. And you're like, oh, dang, like, I'm not as slick as I thought, and like, or they're like, don't do that again. And you don't realize somebody's watching. That's the energy. Like, I feel like that's how your brain responds, where it's like, oh, you know that we're spiraling. Like, we thought you didn't know because you just let us do this. So I feel like mantras are going to be really powerful for you. But when you are open to these friendships coming in, like, your soul is going to like essentially make the arrangements to bring these people in for you. And I would invite you, if you don't feel like you're ready and there are new people that come along, or even like strangers that talk to you, I would invite you to practice looking for the positive interactions that you have with them, right? And that might be that it might be like you being in the grocery store and like somebody, you're kind of at this, not stalemate, but like you're, kind of in this awkward interaction with somebody at the grocery store, like, and they let you go by first, and you smile at them. And like, maybe you just think to yourself like, well, it's really polite of them. And like kind of taking stock of something nice. Or like if you let them go and they kind of smile or they say thank you, then, kind of thinking of that positive interaction of like, oh, like I did something nice for someone and they responded in a really kind way. Like, I feel like that, that is going to be really helpful for you too. Essentially, it's collecting evidence to support this new belief, which is that like not everybody, just because you were hurt before, not everybody wants to hurt you. And just because you meet new people, not everybody has to be your best friend. Like, really like enjoying like small positive interactions. Yeah. Okay, so next we have some cards for your soul's desire for your connections with others. We're going to look at romantic and non-romantic. So the tarot card is the Five of Cups. So we have this kind of sadness. Like I feel like this is supporting what I said earlier, where something in the past happened, and it was really hurtful, Yeah. And I'm sorry. I think the thing with Five of Cups, that even though it's something painful, it's a card of grief, it's a card of loss. I think it's hard when, when we lose something, because there's this loss, right? Like this feeling of loss with these three, cups that are overturned, all the tears coming out. But there's two things that are left, and so this card can be about allowing ourselves to grieve, over like the painful things that have happened, over the things that we've lost, but not turning our back to the good things, that are still there. And so, like I said in the beginning, we have this Nine of Cups, this wish fulfillment card. And so to me, like also the traditional Five of Cups, like the person has their back turned to the audience. And so that kind of indicates like looking to the past. So it feels like this is something that happened in the past for you. And, maybe you've needed a lot of time to mourn over it, like to process it. But I think sometimes when we take too long and we stay in this hurt energy for too long, it can create these kind of beliefs, right? That like, this is how it will always be. And like, if we come to believe that the pain is all there is, then we stop looking for the good things that can come. So the first oracle card for romantic connections is seduction, attraction, flirting, dating, hooking up, temptation, third-party interference. So if if you are open, if you're open to a romantic connection, it looks like there is someone that is coming your way. Like there's someone that's attracted to you. They might be kind of flirty. It looks like they're open to, like dating, hooking up. This third party interference, like I feel like this is really only if you're already in a relationship, but it doesn't feel like that. This doesn't feel very strong. It could be someone that, like, this new person coming in, they might be in like a polyamorous relationship. But I feel like if this feels like something that you're open to, like I said, only if you're open to it, then, like you can receive this when it comes. If it's something that you're not open to, if you do not want to date someone casually, if you don't want someone to like flirt with you, if you're not open to dating right now, then you can absolutely kind of tell the universe like, no thanks, not right now. This non-romantic connection message is wisdom, knowledge gained through experiences or from a wise counselor. Okay, so kind of feels like if what we talked about, at the very beginning, like I said, I'm not a mental health counselor, but even if you, just feel like you're tired of having your like brain and your emotions like have so much control over you, like this, I feel like this is just kind of confirmation to talk to someone that you see as wise, that you see as experienced in this, like someone that you trust, someone that is going to give you really good information, or even seeking out professional help. That whoever you connect to, like whoever you're drawn to connect with based on like the energy of this card, like that's going to be a really positive relationship. I think that's going to help you overcome this sadness as well as help you with this. And so finally we have your soul's desire for your fulfillment and happiness. And so we have Page of Wands. So this card is a message to take some action. And I love that it has, at the center, it's got this candle, this light, but then there's these little clovers around here and these flowers. Like it almost feels like this, like we wouldn't normally see a candle laying flat. It almost looks like the action that you have been thinking of taking, it's something you've been considering for a long time. It's something that you've been like mentally looking at for a long time. And it almost feels like this is an image. Like this looks like one of those like decorative plates that's on a wall, right? Instead of like an actual like candle on a table. And so it feels like this is something that you have like the action that you are being, kind of nudged to take. I feel like that's between you and the universe. It's something that you have been considering, you've been looking at it, you've been studying it for a while. And so I feel like you know what steps like you need to take. I hope that makes sense. I feel like sometimes things don't come through very clear because it's like it's not for me, it's for you. And so it feels like what that is. The next card we have is Creative Copycat. Understand that they exist. Do not be one. To be inspired means simply to be propelled into action. It's not the same thing. Okay, I feel like this action that you've been considering, the things that, if you're considering doing what other people have done to get a result, if you don't do it exactly like them, it does not mean that you will fail. I feel like this is also a message that like not everything works for everyone. So if you have tried things before to help with like the rumination, to help with like your mind kind of spiraling, and it was like maybe like information you got from like Instagram therapy, or like something that you got as a suggestion from like a friend who has a friend that has a friend that has the same thing. If you try those things and they don't work, it is not a reflection of you. It is not a failure. I feel like, not everything works for everyone because not everything is made for everyone, right? Like, I feel like health and fitness is like a perfect example, right? That depending on your age, and depending on like when you started working out, like there's a time when it was like sprinting is everything, right? Like that if you want to I don't know, like drop weight really fast, you have to sprint, and then there's other times where it's like there's this information of like, oh no, you have to do like high intensity training on a bike, or you have to do weightlifting, or you have to do this, or cut out carbs, or do that. It's like there's always all this like information, this advice that's like a lot of times contradictory, but like you see it from a person that it worked for, and those people are offering the advice because there's this mindset that like if it worked for me, it'll work for you, and that is not necessarily true, right? That like I feel like it's kind of the same with like I think for a lot of women, like they talk about like they don't want to lift weights because they don't want to bulk up, and other people are like, oh, that's not true, that won't happen. And it's like, well, everybody's body is different. Like some people's bodies are made to like grow muscles really large and to hold on to that mass, and then there's other body types that like they can't put on weight to save their life. Like that's not how their body works. So I say all that to say that like if you try something that worked for somebody else and it doesn't work for you, that is not a reflection of you. It's a reflection that they found the thing that works for them and you are not them. That doesn't mean that you won't ever get better. I feel like this kind of comparison thing is like, it's coming up really loud. That's why I say that. And so to me, it feels like you talking to someone that you trust that feels knowledgeable about this is going to give you much better results than you seeking out people that seem to deal with the same thing you do and doing what they do. It's not to say that like you shouldn't read up on what people do, but if it's something like super regimented, I feel like that is kind of a sign that like it's not a guarantee that it's going to work for you. So like maybe you read a bunch of articles on like how to deal with like mental spirals, and like all of them talk about finding like a daily practice that you can anchor yourself in. It's like, okay, that's not telling you how to do it. They're not telling you copy my daily practice. Like you have to do yoga, or you have to journal, or you have to eat breakfast, or you have to go for a run. Like they're just saying find a daily practice that you can ground into that is like a cornerstone. It's like an anchor for you to return to when this gets chaotic. It's like, okay, they're not telling you to copy them. They're trying to inspire you to find the thing that works for you. So I feel like I really harped on that, but I felt like it was necessary because I don't want you to feel like you can't overcome this because you did somebody's 10-step process and it didn't work for you. Like this talks about like being inspired to be propelled into action, not to copy someone else. And so last we have this energy card. And so this is a card, I feel like this is related to your fulfillment and this is related to your happiness. I feel like finding things to do, taking action on the things that give you energy is going to bring you a lot of happiness. So if you find that after you go for a walk outside, like you feel like, you feel energetic, like your mood feels really good, or maybe after you spend some time drawing that like you notice that like you enjoy it, or like even the songs that like are like your favorite songs, anything that like I feel brings you like some kind of enjoyment. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be like happiness or like huge joy. It could just be like, oh man, I really love this sandwich, or like, oh, I really love this song, that like you're energy is tied to you being happy. Like your energy is tied to you doing the things that you enjoy. And it feels like being overwhelmed by your emotions and being overwhelmed by your brain is not what gives you, like, those two things are really draining for you because they are not enjoyable, right? Because really, like, they aren't about you. It's about these two things controlling what happens, and like I said, they're trying to protect you, but it's gotten a little bit excessive because what do you need to be protected from? It kind of feels like there was pain that happened in the past, and it's possible that your brain and your heart think that you are still in the past, but you are not. I think that you are ready to move forward, that you're ready to kind of gain your power back. You're ready to have your wish fulfillment, have your wishes and your dreams fulfilled. And I feel like I want to say in your soul, like, I feel like your soul's always ready, but I feel like you are ready to get on board with what your soul wants for you. I feel like this, that you, it almost feels like you think your soul is different from you, right? That, like, not that your soul is not your soul, but like, it almost feels like you feel like your soul is not with you all the time. That it's like this part of you that's like out in the ether, and it's like you're coming to understand that you're like one, right? That you're kind of like you're the vessel for your soul, that like your soul is the essence inside of you. And like before this, like you kind of saw your soul as like this, maybe this thing that's kind of up in the higher realms that like looks down on you and is like, oh, she's not doing what she's supposed to, instead of like really this kind of divine energetic partner that is here. Like your soul's whole goal is this wish fulfillment, right? That like in this lifetime, your soul's like, hey, we have some things that I would like to do, but you have free will. Like you decide, because you can watch this and decide, like, this pair of talking hands, like, Kathy doesn't know what she's talking about. I don't have this mental spiral, and I'm not like, I don't have challenges like everybody else. Like there's no comparison. I'm not like, I have amazing friends. I've never been sad. You can kind of feel all those things and like continue to do whatever you're doing. And like your soul's not going to leave you. Like that's not how it works. Your soul's a part of you, but in the next life, like you might end up dealing with this stuff again. Or if this is part of like your soul contract, like something you agree to take care of when you came here to this earth, like this is going to continue to get to a point where you don't have any choice but to deal with it. And I don't say that to be like, I don't know, threatening or ominous, but like I feel like when we have a soul contract, that we try to avoid the issue that is happening to get us to resolve that soul contract. It's like a pressure cooker where like the heat just gets turned up, and eventually like the gauge that kind of lets the pressure off, like it's not going to be enough, and like the whole thing has to like crack open. And sometimes like that cracking open can sound like an explosion. It can be really scary. Sometimes it can be like a really nasty argument with someone. Sometimes it can be a health issue. We don't know how it's going to happen, but I feel like when you have gone through, something like that, it, like it kind of, it changes you. And so I think, like I said, we always have free will, but the things that, like the contracts, the agreements we've made when we came here, are things that need to be mitigated, corrected, lessons that need to be learned for our highest good. Like, it's not like a job where we have to like create so many, I don't know, presentations or like make so many cogs or widgets or whatever before we can go home. It's not like a task that we do in exchange for something else. It's something that we agreed to do because that completing that thing is going to lead us to becoming our best, highest version of ourselves, which is what we ultimately want, like, which is what the soul and what you want. That's the agreement. That was the purpose of signing the contract. And I feel like for you, ultimately, like, all of this stuff is all leading to this wish fulfillment, and so I don't think that most of us have just like one wish. And so I think that as you begin to kind of work through this stuff that you have in the ways that you work through it, like, you're going to see that your life is going to become a lot more enjoyable, that like even those little small wishes along the way are going to start to come true. And I feel like that the fear of not completing your soul contract is like going, if it's there at all, it's going to be overridden by like all these little positive things that come up, right? Where it's like, oh, I met a new friend and like they seem to be really nice and like we're going to hang out and we're going to hang out again and we're going to hang out again. And like they have another friend that they're going to bring and like, oh my gosh, like the three of us are going to go on a road trip and then like it's getting even better. And then we met another friend. Like it's going to be all these, like it's just going to get better and better and better. Yeah. So I feel like I feel like there's some things that I really harped on. So I apologize. Like if you feel like you're getting your face nagged off. I just feel like I think I recognize like a lot of this like energy and anxiety from when I was a lot younger. And I feel like I've been here before, and I can tell you that like working on the things that I knew I needed to work on has definitely led me to this for myself, like in so many ways. So I want that for you. I think that's why I'm like, you can do this. Like, you can do this. Like, there's people just like call on your angels and like you have people around you. So thanks for letting me nag you. And also thank you for letting me read your cards. I appreciate that, like that you chose this video, that you watched this video. And that you, that you trust me enough to read your cards, because I feel like some of these things they're hard, right? They're tricky, they're difficult. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I hope that this reading left you feeling like supported and encouraged, because you can do all of these things. And that, like you can take as much time as you need. You have all the time that you need. There's no rush. So yeah. I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.